Hello, welcome to the Intro to New Student Organizations training. My name is Courtney Lakaitis. I am the Program Manager to Student Organizations in the Office for Student Involvement and Leadership. This training is one of the 3 required trainings that at least the President and Treasurer are required to complete in order to become a new student organization and obtain the Registered Student Organization status. Make sure that you keep your Engage form close by. You will use that form to fill out different questions and maybe in the future have a few activities to complete as well. So I use that form as a way to hold you accountable to understanding and reviewing some of the knowledge, but also I use it as a way to track your attendance too. Just another item of housekeeping here, whenever you see or you may hear me call out a title, that title page on the slideshow presentation will indicate that you can move on to the next page in your form. Lastly, you are obviously welcome, because this is a video, you are welcome to start and stop the video at any point. If you need to repeat something or you didn't catch it, you can always go back and review that. And then lastly, whenever you're ready to submit your form, you can go ahead and click the blue submit box at the bottom of the last page of the form to submit this and count this as your attendance and check that off your list of requirements to complete. So let's go ahead and get started. As an overview, we're going to go over introductions, the overview of SORT, support from student involvement and leadership, types and tiers, your next steps, and of course there'll be an opportunity for question and answer. So introduction, so this will start on page 3 of your Engage form, and we're going to start with an overview of who is in our office. So the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership is made up of 6 professional staff with 2 additional graduate assistants. And Eric Corbett is our director. He oversees the entire Student Union Administrative Office, Student Involvement and Leadership, and also Campus Recreation. Debbie Lamp is the Associate Director for Student Involvement and Leadership. She oversees major campus programming and a number of our student organizations. She's also my direct supervisor. So if there's ever a time where you can't get a hold of me or I might not be in the office, Debbie is a perfect resource to utilize as well. Gina Kucher is the Program Director for Fraternity, Sorority Life, and Leadership. Jeremy Keller is the Program Manager for Leadership. Myself, I'm the Program Manager to Student Organizations, so I oversee the general operations of student organizations. And then Robin Johnson is our Student Organization Accounting Clerk, so anything dealing with accounting or financing, Robin is going to be overseeing that. Overview of SORT. So SORT is an acronym that stands for Student Organization, Registration, and Training. And SORT in and of itself is a brand for the registration and training process. My hope in the future is that as our student organization leaders learn and utilize SORT, they'll understand that whenever I mention it, that we're talking about the registration application and the training process to become an active student organization. Within SORT, the new student organization, or NSO, has their own branch of information and requirements that you are expected to complete. The entire SORT process is designed to provide an intentional process in completing the registration application and the trainings. So if I ask you to do something or ask you to complete a specific training, I do promise that it's for your own good and that it will help you in your leadership roles and help you to understand some of the operational things that we do in our office. The NSOs are required to complete 3 trainings in order to obtain the RSO status, and then what you'll do is you'll complete those RSO requirements that I'll explain later on. The 3 trainings, again, are Intro to Student Organizations, Mission and Values, and Constitution Training. All of the trainings for NSO and for RSO have been updated and have purposeful content to help you transition in your leadership role. So when we're talking about mission and values, we're talking about mission and values. We're only talking about those 2 topics, nothing else. You don't have to worry about your constitution or anything about Engage or financing or anything like that. You're only going to focus on the topic that we're talking about in the training. SORT is also focused on student organizations obtaining active status. So something that I like to, a little fun equation that I like to share is registration plus training equals active status. If you can remember that quick and easy equation, then you'll be set to go. And then lastly, I do have an email communication that you can send emails to me, and sometimes I'll send them out to you from SORT, but there is an email address that you can use, and it's sort@ray.edu. Support from student involvement and leadership. So while you're working in the NSO process, you'll be directly working with me. This is really your opportunity to ask questions, to meet with me and discuss your progress, and review your constitution. I will also share with you that there is no deadline or time limit that you have to complete your NSO process. So if it takes you a little bit longer to do your constitution, or you want to spend a little bit more time working on recruitment before you become a registered student organization, you have the opportunity to take as much time as you need. I will also leave it up to you as student leaders to decide how often you want to meet. If there's something that you need to talk about and you want to meet every single week, that's totally fine. If you want to meet maybe bi-weekly or monthly, that's also totally okay. It's completely up to you and your schedule. As an office, Student Involvement and Leadership provides leadership opportunities, accounting information and fundraising assistance, conflict management, of course, event planning, and then constitution revisions and support. Lastly, don't hesitate to ask for assistance or ask questions. That's what we're here for. We're here to support you and to help you along the way. So if you're confused about something, or if you are just curious about more details in the process, or maybe even in a policy, please ask for assistance or ask those questions so that we can best support you. Types and tiers. Types and tiers is something that I had changed whenever I was creating the SOAR process. And so what I did was I was reviewing the types of organizations that we have on campus and came up with 4 generic types: new student organizations, registered student organizations, fraternity and sorority life organizations, and sport clubs. Within the types, we also have different levels of tiers. So NSO, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 1 organizations are typically our Dean Student Advisory Boards or our housing councils. Tier 2 is what the majority of you all are going to be. It's a traditional student organization. So they have meetings, they have events, they have a constitution, there's a mission and purpose, all those good things. They fundraise, they do, just any kind of normal thing that you would think about for a student organization. And then Tier 3 organizations are our coordinating organizations. So Student Government Association, University Activity Boards, the Residential Community Association, big organizations like that. So those are kind of like our tiers. Whenever you're a student organization, as a new student organization, your type now is NSO, with your tier being NSO. But later on, you will move into either a new student organization or a sport club, but then your tier will be type 2 or tier 2. Okay, so now you're an NSO, your future goal will be to be an RSO or maybe even a sport club if you're working with the sport clubs. And then, of course, you'll be a tier 2 organization. While you're in the NSO status, you're kind of in limbo. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're not active, but it also doesn't mean that you are frozen or aren't frozen or inactive or anything like that. While you're in the NSO status, you do have the opportunity for reservations for meeting spaces and for tabling, which I can help schedule. But you don't have access to things like events, activities, gatherings, or funding. So you can meet as an organization to kind of get those practices and say, hey, we're having our first meeting, come join us. But you don't have the opportunity to have events and to table for like bake sales and that sort of stuff. And then funding will be a whole thing that we deal with and we talk about later. So some of your next steps, let's talk about those. While you're in the NSO status, you are permitted to 3 things. You are permitted to have up to 3 scheduled meetings, 2 tabling events for recruitment purposes only, and of course, you're permitted to participate in campus-wide events such as student organization involvement fairs or expos, April Craze, Fall Fest, Do the U, all those sorts of things. that is based off of some feedback that I've received in the past. So we want to give you the chance to kind of, practice having those meetings, have the opportunity to table and to get out into the campus community and share the information of your student organization. And then, of course, participate in the same kind of tabling opportunity that the rest of our student organizations get to participate during some of the involvement fairs and the campus-wide events. Once you have completed the NSO requirements, you will then be moved into an RSO status or a sport club status, and I will give you a tier level. The tier level isn't something that you necessarily need to worry about, but more just be knowledgeable of where you fall in terms of student organizations. We also over-communicate that when it's needed. So if you don't hear about it, don't worry about it. But if you do hear about it, then obviously pay attention to that. And then once you're in the RSO status, you will then complete the SORT program. So that includes another registration application and then another set of required trainings. This is your opportunity to really set the stone one last time of who is in your leadership positions and who's going to complete those trainings. So let's say that you have a treasurer that is in office during your NSO status, and for some reason that student needs to step down, or they need to, focus on their studies, or maybe an internship experience or something like that. You're permitted during your NSO status to have elections and elect a new person to take over that treasurer position or any of the student leadership positions. When you complete the RSO registration application, you then can identify who all of those defined leaders are. So like if something changes, you can have that opportunity to state that in your registration application. Then those leaders that are provided in that registration application are the one who complete the trainings. That may sound a little bit confusing, and I don't mean to overcomplicate things and confuse you or anything like that. I will explain everything in more details whenever I send out emails about everything, but just to be mindful of some of your next steps of what you're going to be going through. I know that some of this may seem a little bit redundant, but I do promise you that it will put you on track to being an RSO with all the other organizations. So question and answer. There's a box at the top of the last page there that provides you the opportunity, because this is a virtual training, that you can ask your questions. I do review those, so if you don't have anything to say, you can or any questions to ask, then you can just leave it blank. Otherwise, put in your question there and I'll get back to you via email, or we can talk about it in our next meeting. And lastly, there is my contact information. So you can email me at my personal email, courtney.lakaitis@wright.edu, or of course you can always email me at sort@wright.edu. But I really appreciate you taking the time to complete this training. I hope it was helpful information to you, and we'll see you again soon in another training. Have a great day. Bye-bye.